What if I told you you had to choose between this software to support your environment or that software to support your environment, and you can't have both? You had to choose between the red pill and the blue pill. Today we're talking about the overwhelming tools available that are running within your environment to support the technology and your developers, your DevOps, your engineers, that support the full stack. What if I told you you didn't have to choose and you could already use the tools that you own? Imagine that there's a tool out there that you could use to self-level all these tools and make it easier. Maybe we could call it a self-leveling solution where it connects the dots with all the loosely coupled tools, providing a full comprehensive solution for orchestration and management. Now, I hope you like the analogy between the red pill and the blue pill, because joining us today is the CMO of Morpheus Data, Brad Parks. And before I bring Brad on the show, how about you hit that like, subscribe, and notify, because as always, I'm trying to bring you awesome content. Oh, one more thing, don't use the phrase single pane of glass. Trust me, I learned from my mistake and I had to contribute to the swear jar. Please join me in welcoming the CMO of Morpheus Data, Brad Parks, to the show. Brad, thanks for joining me on this podcast.
Woo! That's a lot of energy. I don't know that I keep up with you, John, but I am happy that we're the day before Thanksgiving on the recording. I don't know when this is actually going to hit the air, but CMO is, usually I have to wash clean after that. I climb back about 60 IQ points, but thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
So before we jump in, I got to tell you, give a shout out to Eric Wright from the Discoposse podcast for getting us together. Eric also told me to tell you he said hello. So hi.
All right. Hi, Eric out there. No, Eric's great. Great guy. I've been in contact with him for a long time. So happy to see the Turbo team doing so well.
So folks, if you don't know, I have recently joined Turbonomic, an IBM company, and I get to work hand in hand, side by side. I'm not sure, top or bottom, with Eric Wright from the Discoposse podcast. And he's put me in touch with Brad Parks. And Brad, we're joined for an awesome conversation here, talking about unified orchestration from platform engineering, clouds, containers, infrastructure automation. Wow, that's a mouthful. But before we get to this topic, what's that, Brad?
That's a lot of buzzwords. If we can work them all in.
Brad, before we go into that, how about we give the audience a little bit of background on you?
Sure. So Brad Parks, as mentioned, CMO, but I was actually an engineer, hands-on keyboard for about nine or 10 years. Did a bunch of Oracle DBA stuff, a little bit of everything. Then product management for another 10 years. So I guess it's a downward spiral into marketing. But I like to joke I'm an engineer with low social anxiety and good PowerPoint skills. So that's how I ended up here.
I might have to put some of your PowerPoint skills to the test later. No, I'm just kidding. But I will throw in a speed round of questions for you that you haven't prepared for.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, we'll jump in that. Brad, let's talk about it. First of all, let's give the audience, what the heck is Morpheus? What is Morpheus Data, and what is the core value for it?
Very simply, we are a platform that enables development teams, end users to get a consistent cloud-like experience, whether they're provisioning VMs, container clusters, apps into private cloud, so hypervisors like VMware, Nutanix, OpenStack, or public cloud, AWS, Azure, the usual set. We want to enable self-service.
When you said a cloud-like experience, it doesn't matter if it's public or private. It's just you get to deploy out as a service, or give me a little bit more.
Exactly. So I'll put on my developer hat, right? It's been a long time. I won't pretend I can crank out code anymore. But the problem statement we usually walk into and talk with big enterprises, right, is they've got development teams who are used to hitting a button, making an API call, and getting their database, their web service, their VM, like that in the public cloud, right? When they turn their attention to the 70–80% of workloads around the globe that are still on-prem, satisfaction goes out the window, because they're usually waiting for an ops team, a platform team, an automation team to go through all the gymnastics that, honestly, AWS has done a great job making invisible, right? You need to get an IP address, register DNS entry, configure a load balancer, provision a VM, run some Ansible, build up your app stack. Don't forget your logging agent, your monitoring. It needs a backup job. That's what has made the public cloud fantastic, right? For developers, they get what they want when they want it. But on-prem, mileage may vary, and usually it's not a happy experience. So for us, we come in and we enable ops teams or platform engineers to really deliver on the value of cloud on-prem, but at the same time put guardrails around how those developers are provisioning into the public cloud. So things like policy management, quotas, security. So everyone wins. Your ops team gets what they want, platform team gets what they want, developers don't ever have to talk to IT. And at the end of the day, even finance team gets what they need out of the equation. So we can unpack that over the next little bit.
So you're saying the guardrails, but it also sounds like security team gets what they want.
Yeah, think about it. I mean, a lot of I think I've got an unlimited subscription to, lifehack.com or whatever the website is, because my personal data usually ends up exposed through some corporation who didn't do what they needed. For us, from a security perspective, every time developer end user spins up a environment, we can manage, or our platform can manage, golden template pipelines, make sure you're on the latest version of the OS. If you need security agents installed, firewall rules in place, you bake that in so that every time somebody hits a button or makes an API call to spin up their database or their app stack, security is baked in from the get-go, so that you don't have to stay up at night trying to manage it after there's a problem.
All right, so you give me a little nostalgic here, because I remember as an administrator, okay, I got my ticket, I need to deploy out a VM. We got a little more efficient as, we went into, and I hate to say SharePoint site, but that's what we used.
Yeah.
And we input the data, and then it went through orchestration, it grabbed this. Normally it was engineering built it, they threw it over the wall to ops handled it, okay. Oh, I've got an issue, I need this, I need access, networking, do I have my accounts added to it? Oh my. All right. I need to get away from that. You talked about a full comprehensive solution for orchestration. Let's talk about it. How has the orchestration and automation landscape changed in recent years?
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the biggies is the need for an agnostic approach to abstraction and a more of a loosely coupled approach, right? I think challenge is there are patterns, right? There's similarities. The process you ran through happens over and over hundreds of times, if not thousands of times a day in an enterprise. But the specific tools, the processes, the people, the rules, they'll change a little bit. So Morpheus as an orchestrator is opinionated in so much as we have a framework to connect the dots across all of those handoffs and automate them end to end. But where we're loosely coupled is if you're using, AD to talk to info blocks, to then connect into your Microsoft DNS and you're an Ansible shop, right? You need to use the tools that you already have at your disposal versus, shift left, it must be this way. Now you have to use all these tools. So for us, we've created that framework, but we've also put nearly 100 out-of-the-box integrations into the platform so that if team A is let's say a Windows shop, they're using Puppet, Windows AD, great. We'll wire all that together in a couple hours and you can hit a button and get your Windows VM. Team B, using Ansible, Linux, maybe they're using some Terraform. Fantastic. We can connect to those tools. And again, make sure that you're not having to manually write glue code, but rather for a framework, you can hit a button and get what you want out of that set of tools. So we slide in. The analogy I use sometimes is self-leveling cement, right? I'm a home repair guy. I've done a lot of my own work. Everyone's got cruft and tools and sprawl. We want to come in, connect the dots, and create that frictionless experience that honestly developers and ops teams are looking for out of the tools they already have.
All right. So I have to tell you that I know that you're in marketing because you just used an analogy, self-leveling cement in technology, by the way. I mean, I don't know how you put those together, but you married in construction with technology and Morpheus data into one. That's pretty good. You would think you're a CMO or something, right?
Hey, if the shoe fits.
All right. So talk to me a little bit more how Morpheus fits into this, because here's what I envision. I go into one, basically one UI, and I have full access to not only my on-prem, full access into my cloud environment, and I'm able to spin up resources here, there. I'm able to orchestrate all of it in one single pane of glass. Is that what it looks like?
You said single pane of glass. I think there's a there's a swear jar somewhere that you owe $1. So
hold on a second. I'm a little short. Could you spot me?
I got you covered. So yeah, I fear that word just because it's been so promised for decades, right? Single pane of glass, and usually not delivered. I will say we do come as close to that as I've seen any tool, whether whether it was in my engineering days or as a product manager. We're not replacing the GUI for your server manager, your load balancer, your backups. What we are doing is we are bringing meaning to those tools and stringing them together so that you can, at the end of the day, provision an application and manage it through its life cycle. So we do pull the pieces together, but we're not trying to be the end all be all of GUI tab consolidation. But when you think about self-service, right? VM admin doesn't want to give the keys to vCenter over to their development teams. The app dynamics guy, same thing. The load balancer, they each have their their piece of the equation, and those are important. But as a developer, I want to embed an API call into my development pipeline so that when I finish a build, I get my environment stood up. If I need to go do some troubleshooting and I need basic logs, yeah, I want to go into Morpheus and see those. If I need to do some self-service backup and recovery, well, Morpheus has been integrated into my Veeam or my Zerto or my Rubric. I can do that. So we do want to make sure as much as possible, we can keep those development teams, those end users in context and focused versus crap, I need to go open up a ticket and get my log file dump, or something blew up, I need to do a recovery, let me go open up a ticket with the backup admin. Tickets and handoffs are the antithesis of speed and agility. So we want to be the enabler while still letting all those operational important things happen the way they need to happen, just kind of in the background and transparently.
First of all, I got to apologize for the single pane of glass, but I've never used that in any of my other recordings. This is the very first time that I've commented on it. And thanks for the clarification, because when I think of the single pane of glass, obviously nobody's ever been able to come close. They overpromise, underdeliver usually on that because they want to integrate. And you mentioned, so I got my F5. By the way, F5 is not a sponsor of this, but if you'd like to, let me know. You have all these other interfaces that you have to do. So yeah, you still have your tabs open, and I'm glad you don't sell yourself as it, but you come close to it. Now, my next question is, what really makes Morpheus kind of different or unique from others out there?
One of the biggest is we don't have a dog in the fight. If you are the miraculous 100% AWS shop, right? You're a net new company, you just started, you're doing it all in AWS, great. They have tools for you. If you've lock, stock, and barrel, you are all in with VMware, you have no public cloud, you got nothing else, you're just 100% VMware, you love your ELA, they have some tools for you, right? Same thing with IBM and Red Hat. Challenge is, any enterprise of material size has a little bit of everything, right? You've got boatload of VMware, you're starting to use OpenShift in anger, some guy's got a Nutanix cluster in the corner, you got a team you just acquired who's using some AWS, another one that's using some Azure. All of a sudden, you've got massive tool sprawl, and you're not able to put governance, control, cost accountability, automation across that entire landscape. So that's where Morpheus comes in. We are 100% agnostic. We care about bringing the pieces together, not managing our hypervisor business or our Kubernetes business or our public cloud business. We are all about orchestration and an agnostic.
I like it that you called it out that, hey, if you're on, this public cloud or you're on this one, but you don't have both of them, hey, stick with those. You've got the tools for it. But here, let's bring those together if you are, and I hate to use the term multi-cloud because yes, it does exist. And kind of talking onto it a little bit is multi-cloud is still on-premise cloud. You have your private cloud, so that's multiple clouds or in the public cloud as well. And I like how you said, hey, listen, you know what? There's not one company, usually not one company. If you're a startup, you'll have, one, you'll be in one area, but those large enterprises are dabbling in all. Let Morpheus come in and level the playing field or level it out. And I hate to use your analogy, but I had to throw it in there. All right. Well, of course I will, but I will not use single pane of glass anymore. God. All right. Let's jump into some weird stuff. I got some speed questions for you. Totally off topic. Has nothing to do with this. Are you ready?
I'm gonna hydrate first. I gotta be prepared.
I was already saying there's no thinking. Your first one that comes to mind, and by the way,
Okay.
this is recorded, so whatever comes to mind is going out there. All right, you ready? 3, 2, 1. What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Okay. Are you a Mac or PC?
I was a PC. Now I'm in Mac.
Ooh, all right. You know, it's the second person I've interviewed this week that has changed from Mac to PC. So we're doing great. What's your favorite season?
Ooh, winter. I'm a ski instructor. Love it.
All right. All right. Can't tell you, but I won't. What's your favorite podcast to listen to?
Well, now it's the John Myer podcast. Actually, I'm a
I
big
love
fan
it.
of WTF with Mark Maron. I like that.
I've got quite a few favorites. My own is one of those favorites, but Discoposse podcast is on that list. By the way, Eric was quizzing me on that. What's your favorite book?
Ooh, Lord of the Rings. Trilogy, I know, but you got to think about it as one.
All right. Well, what's your favorite movie?
Ooh, The Matrix, I'm a fan of. The new one's coming out on December 22nd. We're actually sponsoring a whole bunch of premieres. If you have any questions, give me a call. I'd say other than that, Shawshank Redemption is probably one I could watch, a few times a year and still love it.
All right, I thought of another one. By the way, the Matrix one that's coming out, I'm looking forward to it. I absolutely he looks like John Wick in it. By the way, I do like those series. All right, I did have another one. Oh my God. Oh, you know what? Here it is. What's your favorite Christmas movie?
There's Die Hard, always a favorite.
I was hoping you'd say that. That was classified as a Christmas movie.
That is up there for sure. Yeah, and then Christmas Story is always fun. The marathon that TNT does every year.
Okay. This is totally weird that I got to share with you. My daughter, right? She went and grabbed an ice cube out of the freezer, and our freezer is actually getting really, really cold. It kind of malfunctioned a little bit, and I haven't repaired it. And she put one of the ice cubes on her tongue, and she couldn't get it off. She pulled it off, and she's like, "Look what it did!" I said, "Oh," I was like, "Do you remember the Christmas movie when he stuck his tongue to the pole? That's what happened to him." And she's like, "I was like, now you feel his pain."
And she's saying, Dad, I can learn stuff from TV, so get out of the way.
Double-edged sword. Brad, back to our questions. Where do you see the future is going?
I see kind of the intersection of a few key areas, and it's really where we're headed as a company. When I think about self-service, right, that experience we talked through earlier, you've got development teams, end users that want self-service to provision their apps, their databases, their workloads. That same self-service experience is coming into Kubernetes. So they want to be able to spin up their cluster, tear it down. We see companies, using a lot of small clusters. So extending self-service to Kubernetes management. The other element of self-service is day two operations, right? Every big enterprise on the planet has hundreds of Ansible playbooks, chef recipes, bash scripts, PowerShell, the not sexy, just grunt work of managing an IT shop. We want to canonize or codify that set of work and pull it in so that a junior operator can go execute those. You're not having to lean on your limited pool of highly skilled automation engineers. So I think taking self-service and moving it into not just clouds, but Kubernetes and containers, as well as day two automation, that Venn diagram of those three areas is going to be a target-rich environment, and certainly a lot of pain there for a lot of enterprises.
Talked about Kubernetes. Where is Morpheus with Kubernetes?
So Morpheus, actually, when we were originally designed, we were built by a bunch of DevOps engineers who needed a platform to get their job done, right? We didn't start as a platform to go sell to external enterprises. We actually were born inside a $2.5 billion private equity firm. Team of about 25 of the best DevOps engineers on the planet built it for themselves. They were doing Docker containers, years before, Kubernetes was the end all be all. So we've taken that DNA, and so we've built in our own distro. But nobody's arguing over which distro is better anymore, or at least we're not. We have one there. If you want to use it, great. Pretty vanilla. Add your services and sidecars. If you're an OpenShift shop, actually, we talked to the OpenShift team, the Rancher team at KubeCon a few weeks ago. It's still pretty complicated to stand up those clusters. They've done a lot of good work, but you stand up Kubernetes cluster, you still need IP addresses from your IPAN, still got to talk to DNS, still got to talk to things like load balancers, still got to go talk to ServiceNow, all the things we already do. So being able to model and push button, I need my Rancher cluster, I need my OpenShift cluster. That's what we do. We can also attach to brownfield. So if you've already got, let's say, OpenShift or Rancher installed, we can connect to that, simplify the operations through our pane of glass. I'm not going to say single, but also because we're already talking to public cloud endpoints and VM-based endpoints. You think about an app stack, you might be modernizing, right? You've got containerized front end. You've still got a stateful, maybe VM-based backend database, or using a public cloud PaaS service. Because we are agnostic, we can blueprint those complicated app stacks that mix and match platform technologies in pretty interesting ways. And that fits into a lot of the patterns that we're seeing in app modernization projects.
All right. So you mentioned KubeCon. You mentioned the future where things were going. You were at KubeCon, correct?
I was.
I was not, but no big deal. I wish I was.
I looked for Eric there. We were right next to the turbo booth.
I was in transition. So I've only been started probably 3-4 weeks by the time this gets out, maybe 5. But anyway, is that the feeling that you got there from everybody? This is where the future's going? From, not only containers, but Ansible. Is that where you, or was there a different vibe? Did you get a little insight on what the future will be? Now, keep in mind, folks, this was probably like an in-person event. That's only like the 5th one that's ever happened this year. So
yeah, it was. Yeah, I'll do the future of events and then the future of technology. Yeah. We still don't know what the heck's happening with events, right? I mean, numbers are up and down. It was a little surreal, I gotta say. They did a good job spacing everybody out. So I think we're not going back to, 50,000 people in Las Vegas, wall to wall. I don't think anytime soon, but I do think they did a good job on a hybrid style event. From a technology perspective. Despite all the noise and all good noise, right? Publicity, everyone's adopting containers. Back to the hybrid cloud conversation, while 70-80% of workloads are still sitting on-prem, there's a massive amount of workloads that are still going to be VM-based. I still have customers who use this for bare metal, right? So I think that the future is going to be even more complicated than the past, right? Despite the promise that technology will make life simpler. You've got more options, more choices, more disparity. So the need for unification is going to increase. So I think that's where we're going to continue to focus is let's make sure it's easy to consume these technologies and not get lost in, religious wars over which technology is the best.
Yeah, we could fight all day about this technology versus this one, but if we all utilize Morpheus to level the playing field on all the technologies, yeah, Brad, that was for you. I just want to get my dollar back from my single pane of glass comment.
Nice. You got it.
Awesome. So, Brad, I got my last question before we give the audience a little bit more information on how they can find out the solution overview, the cloud field day. Really, how can people get started in the community?
We have a community edition. So yeah, if you go to morpheusdata.com, you'll find some easy to find links to download our community edition. It's free. You can spin up to 3 clouds, 25 VMs, just get a taste. We've also got some links to some free training, get your hands dirty. Love a good home lab. But reach out to our team. It's a deep platform. This is a pretty complicated space. We'd love to spend some time, walk through a demo, talk to folks about their specific needs. Everyone's a snowflake in one way, shape, or form. So let's unpack your specific challenge and see if there's a fit.
All right, Brad, how can folks follow you on social media?
Okay, I am at Morpheus Dude on Twitter. I probably don't spend as much time there as I should, but I do check in, and that's how we found each other through Eric's help. So reach out. Obviously up on LinkedIn as well. If you want to just email me directly. The advantage of being employee 11, Brad at morpheusdata.com. So no complicated email address. So I'm here for it.
Brad, I got some CMO advice for you. Now, I'm not an expert, but I think you need to be on Twitter a little bit more, a little social media, just a tad more.
I don't know if I'm technical enough. That's a technical platform. So we do have our tech marketing, lead. So Martez Reed, actually, brilliant guy. We should get him on the podcast because he'll go as deep down the rabbit trail as you'd like. Even wrote our Terraform provider. So even though he's got marketing in his title, he will take you as deep as you want to go.
Okay, so leave the marketing not to the CMO, but to the other folks.
Yeah, let's bring in the big guns.
Awesome. I hope you enjoyed our topic on unified orchestration with Morpheus Data, Brad Parks. Brad, I want to thank you for joining the podcast.
Thanks, everybody.
This has been a Daily Tech Show. I'm your host / podcaster, John Myer. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and the notification, because guess what? We're out of here.